welcome. This is going to be the inaugural episode of Scene Interpretation. Woo woo!
Right.
This is a podcast where I, a therapist, am going to have a fun conversation with a friend about a movie that most of the time they haven't seen, which I'm going to be shocked by. And then we're going to kind of talk about how that happened, takeaways from that, and just kind of, tee-hee-hee together about cinema. So my name is Dr. Sophia Murphy. I'm a licensed therapist here in Arizona, and I have been a cinephile for as long as I can remember. And this has been a dream of mine to be able to blend my love of therapy and just humans and how we make sense of things with my love of films. So if you want to introduce yourself, we'll talk about what we picked for today and then dive in.
All right, I'm Thais. I am a project manager. I do watch movies, but I wouldn't consider myself a cinephile, especially considering all the movies I haven't seen.
Which makes you perfect for hanging out with me.
So at some point we'll have to do like a movie night and just, watch a couple of movies back to back.
Yes, and I will also caveat, careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
Because I think even when we were brainstorming, I gave you like 20 movies to choose from.
At least.
And that's basically how my brain and heart works all the time. So we're also really shooting for the stars with this first episode because you happen to choose my favorite movie of all time, Jaws. We'll talk a little bit about why that's my favorite movie. Just for context, I must yell at people on a weekly basis who haven't seen Jaws to try to understand how, when it is such, in my opinion, a fundamental cinematic classic. So I am thrilled to have you here to talk about it. I'm thrilled that you were willing to watch it. I would like to say that I bullied you into it. But
I was going to say, was it my choice? I don't know.
I mean, we're going to go 50-50.
Yeah.
I was pushing really hard, not even for this podcast, just as my friend, of you have to watch this movie because what are you doing without your life? What are you doing with your life if you haven't seen this movie? So, all right, we'll dive into it. My first question has a part 1 and a part 2.
Okay.
So I guess just to start, "We're gonna need a bigger boat" is probably one of the most quoted lines in cinema history. So I'm curious, with it having such a reputation and knowing that it basically invented the summer blockbuster movie, how do you think that affected your initial viewing of it and maybe any pressure about how you were supposed to feel?
So the first thing I'm going to say is the phrase, "we're going to need a bigger boat," I did not know until just now that it came from that movie.
That is so amazing to me.
So, newsflash for me.
Okay, so you knew it was a very common phrase.
Yeah.
Okay, we just didn't know the origin story connected.
I mean, because it just
to
seems like a logical phrase.
Sure.
It's we just don't have enough resources
whatever we're talking
whatever,
about.
right?
Yes, I love
but
that.
Not hey, we're about to land this giant ass shark. We're gonna need a bigger boat. That context was not known.
Oh my god, that's great. Okay, so I guess in general speaking then, knowing that the movie was famous, how did that affect your first viewing, or any ideas of maybe what you were going to feel, or if you thought you should feel a certain type of way?
So, okay, so my, what do I want to say? I knew about the movie, but because the movie is older than I am,
Fair.
Right? It predates me. It was never on the radar.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
Even though I've definitely watched movies that came from the 70s. I think they came The Exorcist is one of them.
Yep, another classic.
Jaws was never on the radar.
Okay.
And so I didn't know a ton. I mean, I knew there was a giant shark, and it ate people, and that was kind of it.
Yeah.
But I never got any of the fanfare or anything like that because I think it was before my time.
Okay, that makes more sense than too. That kind of dives into how you made it this far in life and never saw the movie. It just wasn't in your radar. It wasn't kind of in your sphere of influence, I guess you would say. So then the part 2 of the question is, having met me and us becoming friends, having become travel buddies who went to LA, where all I talked about leading up to this trip was my desperate, and I use the word desperate literally, desire/need to go to the Academy Awards Museum because the 50th anniversary exhibition for Jaws was happening. So you were introduced to that through me.
Yes.
And me talking about it endlessly for 7 days. How did that affect your first viewing of the movie, and any maybe thoughts or feelings of like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to leave this movie feeling blank.
Okay. So it's so funny to me because when you wanted to go to the museum, like I'm not a museum person, so I was just kind of like, meh, sure. If she wants to go, I'll ride along.
Fair. And you are very like go with the flow. I love for like whatever experience is on the docket.
Absolutely. And so when we got there, like because it was a museum, like my expectations are typically very low in terms of museum, and I didn't know anything about the movie, so seeing like the props and all of the artifacts from the actual movie didn't really land.
Got it.
Right. But at the same time I also had like context going into watching the movie where I had a reference back to the museum versus the other way around.
So interesting.
Right? So it's like you go to the museum and you think about the things, you see the things, and it's because you saw it, your reference is the movie.
Correct.
But for me, it's reverse, right?
Yeah.
I see them in the movie, and my first experience of it was the museum.
Yeah. So cool. I actually think that's kind of neat because you got to see it through basically a viewing of adoration, right? Like the fact that it even had its own exhibition speaks to the cultural influence this film has had since 1975. And then you're kind of going into the movie with that as your foundation versus when I was introduced to it, I was probably too young. I mean, I was like 7 or 8.
Wow.
And it was because people in my life had seen it and loved it. And it was kind of like, this is one of those movies that you have to watch. You're old enough now, you've got to see it. So it already had so much history attached to it in the 90s. And so watching it over my lifetime and then, it hitting this 50th anniversary, there's been documentaries made about it, books written about it, and then the museum experience. It's just so interesting to see that reverse.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've been waiting my whole life for the Academy Awards Museum to even exist because it's very, very new in the last few years, and then B, it to not only hit this milestone so I could see it in the theater for the first time last year, but be able to then go to this exhibition. So yeah, you're right. I see these things and it reminds me instantly of the first time I saw the movie where you watch the movie and think of, oh, I saw that in LA.
It'll remind me of the first time I took a trip with Sophie.
Correct, yes. And that type of history as well.
Yeah.
So fun.
Now, I will say, like, as you were talking, I remembered something. Again, my reference is the museum, and then back to the movie.
Fair.
Was, like, the keyboard where you could play the notes,
yes,
right? I remember
two
being
notes, the most famous
broken
in history.
But I remember, like, as a kid, like, when we would play in the pool and we would pretend like we were sharks, we would be like, dun-dun-dun-dun.
Okay.
Right,
so it snuck in.
Yes,
your
exactly.
Context. You just didn't realize
and I knew it had to do with a shark, but, like, I didn't think Jaws. And so going back to, like, expectations and watching the movie, I have no recollection of hearing that in the movie.
Wow.
Like, and I was listening for it, and I don't know if it was because I watched it, like, not on my TV with, like, the surround sound and all of that, and maybe I'm a little old and a little deaf, I don't know. But, like, I didn't hear it.
Okay.
And so, like, I was really disappointed at that it wasn't as prominent as I was expecting it to be.
Okay, well then I would definitely sort of challenge you to watch it again, or at least part of it, even just the opening scene.
With the sound up or something.
And really listen for how that music is used, also as a way to let you know the shark is coming.
Yeah.
Which we can get into in a little bit, all the problems that they had mechanically with the shark, and how not seeing the shark adds to so much, I think, psychological impact of the movie is build up.
And maybe that's why it wasn't hitting, like... as hard, because I couldn't hear that iconic those two notes, because I was looking for them, right, and I just, like, they weren't as prominent as I would have expected them to be.
That's fascinating.
So
okay, something to think about.
Yeah.
So then, do you think there's anything in the movie that you would have understood differently if you had seen it as a kid and before meeting me and me gushing about it in the museum, etc.?
Understand differently. If I had seen it as a kid, one, I don't think my mother would have let me see that movie as a kid. Even though, like, it really wasn't, like, there were a couple of jump scares in there, but compared to some of the other movies out there, like, it's relatively mild.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the things I was also kind of surprised about, is like
Okay.
how mild it was
Okay.
in terms of like the scare factor and all of that. But again, maybe it's because I missed the 2 notes. I don't know.
I think that's actually a perfect segue then, and to talk about like what was your first impression when the movie ended? What did you think? Like, okay, now I've seen Jaws.
So again, it's probably a little more colored from our time at the museum, because
Sure.
I had more insight into like, oh, they had to build this big mechanical shark, and just some of your perspective around how hard people had to work to make movies and special effects without all of the digital enhancements and
Yes.
things back in the day. So I think I had a really good appreciation,
Okay.
right, for the movie. So that would be one. When the movie ended, I felt like there could have been, like, I wanted a little bit more
Oh, okay.
after story,
Yeah.
right? Like, have a barbecue with the shark, something, right? Because when they killed the first shark that they thought was a shark, they strung it up, they were taking pictures,
Right.
there was all this festivity, and then when they kill the actual one, it's just like, and we're done.
Yeah. This is true. I mean, those are definitely very different moments in the film. And I'm interested to see, like, how did you feel because you didn't think it was as scary? Because to me, I remember feeling, like, relieved. Because it had such a build, and the shark just kept coming, and
Yeah.
it was so dangerous, and it was so huge, and it was going to be this, like, how are they possibly going to overcome this thing, that by the time it explodes, I think I've been holding my breath for so long,
Yeah.
especially again as a kid, but even now, because I just love it so much, it's the exhale of like, okay, it's safe to be in the water. Even when they're paddling back, it's like, oh, I'm not afraid of them getting eaten now because they blew up the shark, and it's like the
Yeah.
music's lighter and the sun's up, and it has just such this emotional exhale for me.
I understand that feeling, and I think there was a little bit of relief knowing that the shark was gone,
Right.
right, and that they could kind of paddle back safely. But there was also, so with movies that you know are pure fiction,
Fair.
there for some reason sometimes seems to be this expectation of people behaving realistically, or things being realistic even though it's pure fiction,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so there were some moments in there that like annoyed me.
Fair. Yeah.
And I think that sort of left me feeling not necessarily annoyed, but maybe less relieved, right? Because I was a little annoyed through the movie with like some of those things.
Sure.
For example, like when the guy destroyed the radio.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why? Why would you do that? And I don't know if you have any insight to that, but that's like one of the questions in my notes. It's
Okay.
like, why did he destroy the radio? Other than he's...
I mean, okay, so my thought process from reading the book and watching every documentary that's ever been made and watching this movie literally more times than I can count, probably close to 100 times since I was a kid. I think the whole backstory when they're drinking and he's telling the story of the Indianapolis and how when he was, you know,
The
in
no life
military,
jacket?
right, and how he had
Okay.
to see all of his fellow seamen be eaten alive and not know if he was going to make it, that we're taking that to a level of he is so traumatized by his lived experience that he sees this as like his epic battle. So every time he goes out shark hunting, it's him versus this beast.
Right.
And so the idea that Brody would call in the Coast Guard to take this opportunity away from him was his character development around, like, you don't understand that this is, like, my rite of passage.
Yeah.
I got away from the shark once.
It's him or me.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you're not going to bring in some armed, you know, military people. This is my fight. And basically, like, you brought me into it. I told you I'd do it for whatever amount of money.
And he did say he wanted to do it by himself, too.
Correct.
So, okay. Okay.
I think we're supposed to see him as a pretty damaged individual.
Oh, 100%.
Who's like living in this boat with his like shark catching, and he's even, you know, shown earlier in the movie when all the fishermen are going out on the boats to try to catch the shark, he goes by on his boat and just kind of watches them and is like very somber of like, these idiots don't know what they're doing, like I'm the professional. And so I've always interpreted it to be both. Yes, he is in the means of like damaged, traumatized, and he's not going to let Brody take this opportunity away from him, which ends up killing him.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Now, does it make me right? Not necessarily.
No, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah,
though.
That's what it means to me.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
I love that. So I guess with that, what's interesting is that, you know, Brody spends a lot of the movie knowing that something is wrong. This is a bigger situation than they can handle, but he's often silenced over and over again, right? And he's really, I mean, way back in those days, to use the term, he's kind of gaslit, right? He's making a big deal out of it. We can get into the mayor in a moment, but just this whole narrative around, like, they elected him to be their sheriff, but then he is doubted, gaslit, and silenced over and over again about something being really wrong in the scene to take action. And I'm just curious, especially because they're all white men, what do you think about that in this movie?
So one thing that I noticed, so take, what's the fisherman guy's name? Quint. So if I compare Quint and Brody, right, when Quint comes on the scene, he literally shows up with BDE, right? Like straight up, like I'm here. This is what I take it or leave it, right? And Brody does not have that presence, right?
That's true.
And so he ends up getting pushed around and gaslit and all of these things because he doesn't give off the same vibes. Right? Quint would have never been pushed around.
That's true.
He would have just done whatever the hell he wanted to do.
That's true.
Right, and so I think the like nature of his character being a little bit more submissive or just not willing to like go against authority or even if he knows, which is crazy because he knows it's wrong, right, and he knows he's right, and if he had just listened to his instinct and said, you know, screw the mayor, right, more people would have been alive. But the thing is, it's hard to like prove something that didn't happen, right?
That's true.
So you can only look back in hindsight and be like, yeah, I told you so. But had he acted, then, you know, the beaches would have been closed and lives would have been saved, but then he would have been probably kicked out for canceling summer. Yeah,
and that's the part where I actually think I have some empathy for Brody, as I think your point is correct. He is really the antithesis of Quint, or you could say Quint is the antithesis of Brody, since Brody's our hero. But I think they're also trying to show him as like, he's the family man, and you know, he cares about this position that we're, I guess, assuming he's had to work to get to, right, to become the sheriff, where Quint is very isolated and again clearly has survived a lot and drinks his life away.
He's a loner,
exactly, and not a rule follower. And so I think there's an interesting aspect to Brody where he is trying to operate within the system, right, of this position that I think he cares about, while also seeing how terribly run and how corrupt and toxic it is.
It sounds like anything happening today.
Have no relatability to 2026 from 1975 at all. But yeah, I think he's trying to navigate, like, how do I stay true to myself, but stay true to this role, and stay true to this position that I've been appointed to. And also, I would imagine we're supposed to think that he's being faced with something they've never dealt with.
Right.
So this isn't
unlike Jaws 2.
Correct. Or that's just crazy that no one believes him in that movie, which I could talk forever about the fact that he saved this town.
Literally.
And still gets no support, and they just act like he's an insane random person running around yelling shark when he lived through the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do think it's interesting that I think that's where you have empathy for him, is like, he has to kind of overcome that timidness to survive. Yeah. Because if he waits too long or he hesitates, the shark wins. Yeah. And he has to charge forward when before it was Quint doing that. Pretty cool. So kind of in the same vein when we're talking about none of this is relatable today, I guess after watching this, have you related to maybe like being in an environment or being in a situation where like you thought things were one way and then you find out they're not, and maybe it requires like bucking the system or going along with it, and like how would you have navigated that? Or have you navigated that?
I don't know that I'd really have to think hard. I don't know that I've been in that situation. I tend to mostly be a rule follower unless there's like if there's no consequences to not following the rules,
sure.
Then, whatever.
Yeah.
But in terms of like bucking the system, like I'm probably I'm not the one,
yeah,
to rock the boat necessarily.
Yeah.
Especially if there's like potentially real consequences. I wish I was more of that person, because even when I think about things happening today, like people going out and protesting or I'm probably not going to be out there with you.
Fair.
But if there's someplace I can send money, I know that that's my role.
Yeah, you'll pay Quinn.
Yeah, exactly. I'll pay the $10,000.
Yes.
You're willing to do it, I'm willing to pay you.
Totally fair. And I think about that a lot too, of like if I was the family person and had worked for this role and finally made it there, and I'm again trying to operate within the confines of the system, like I don't know that I would straight up go against them, because I think there's this part too, if I just quit, who becomes the sheriff in this little tiny town? And are they just going to do what the mayor's asking them to do anyway? Is it?
Well, and it literally is just Brody. Like, I don't even know if he has like his little deputy or whatever.
Correct, that's it.
Even more beta than he is,
yes.
right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
And even the first time he meets the mayor shows up with 4 of his goons.
Yes. Literally. And their meeting is on the freaking boat that moves the cars back and forth.
Exactly.
It's not even like giving him his full attention.
5 grown-ass men hop out of this car.
Yes.
1 car.
Yes.
And,
a literal clown car.
Yeah, literally a clown car. And, like, accost Brody and basically roll up on him like a gang.
Yes.
And, like, threaten him, essentially.
Yes. Intimidate him, for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm like, where do they do that? I mean, I don't know. Like, so over the weekend, speaking of movies, it's completely, like, unrelated, but sort of related.
No, I love it.
I was at, like, a work thing, and one of the people, we were talking about movies, and, like, movies we had never seen. Someone brought up The Godfather. And I was like, yeah, I've never seen The Godfather. And they're like, Thais, you've just gone from here to here. And so that night, I started watching The Godfather. Yes,
also a classic, for sure.
And, so I didn't get through the whole thing because it's really long, but it's really, really good. But
yes,
it had, like, you have, like, The Godfather, and then you have all of his goons.
Yes.
Right? And so, like, that, when I watched it the second time, like, having watched The Godfather, like, that's one of the things that I picked up was, like, this one person and all of his goons just showing up. And
all this power.
And, just throwing their weight around.
100%.
Right?
When I think in that vein, too, there's this interesting underlying theme about how Brody's not really one of them.
Yeah.
He's not an islander.
Mm-hmm.
Which also, it's interesting, why would you make your sheriff someone who came from outside this little town? Like, he comes from the city, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. In that vein, though, it's interesting how they use that to isolate him.
You don't know.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? That's part of the gaslighting. It's like, you don't know how it operates here. You don't know how we've run this town for decades or whatever it used to be like. And back in the 70s, like, that part of the country really was, like, very white collar, or excuse me, blue collar. Now it's much more white collar. Affordable, family. Like, it wasn't this huge tourist attraction that it is now, where people have these homes that only the ultra wealthy can afford. And so this idea that, like, even though he's one of them, he's not one of them.
Yeah.
And so he's also trying to, like, prove his status, prove his role. And then even Ellen, his wife, she gets those comments too, of like, you'll never be one of us, you're never going to be an islander.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see how, like, he's trying to fit in as an adult. Not a kid, right? Like, he's not a high schooler. But you can see those same sort of, like, social structures at play, where the mayor seems like he's been the mayor for a very long time.
Yeah.
He has these people that do his bidding, and they all gang up against Brody, even though Brody's trying to be the voice of reason.
I mean, the mayor's basically the bully, right?
Correct.
And, Brody's the new kid that's getting picked on.
Exactly.
And adulthood is basically high school with money.
You're not wrong. So not wrong. God, it's depressing when you think about it. Is like, we're always trying to navigate those social structures.
We really are.
And the hierarchy that goes along with it. So I guess, kind of again bringing it back to, like, how this applies now is, the other theme is that the town of Amity itself is constantly trying to keep the beach open.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the mayor, but all the people that come and vote, right? Like the people that own all the shops and the hotels, like they know a girl was attacked and they still want to keep the beaches open. So like, when have we seen people, places, institutions prioritize comfort and status over the truth? What do we think about that?
Yeah. So I think I want to make a comment about the first person who died.
Oh yeah, Chrissy.
Right? Was she, I'm assuming she wasn't an islander, because it seemed like nobody cared.
It's a great point.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But when the little boy died,
for sure,
right? Now all of a sudden, oh, we gotta find the shark. We gotta.
Yes.
Well, and also there was $3,000 on the line. So I don't know if it was because it was someone that they knew, or the $3,000, or both. But it's like they placed different sort of value on life, depending on whether it was the girl or the little boy or whomever, right?
This is why I love having conversations, because again, like I said, I've probably seen this movie almost 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
I've never wondered about Chrissy's family and
right.
why no one came looking
no
for
one
her.
came looking for her.
And that is a brilliant point as to why they didn't seem, outside of Brody again, to care about this woman being brutally attacked.
Even the boyfriend was just like, I kind of fell asleep on the, maybe she got
too drunk.
Maybe
right?
he was like, maybe she drowned. Like, he's not hurt and maybe he wasn't the boyfriend. He was just like a jump off.
I think they just met at that party.
Okay, fair enough.
Not to defend the drunk privileged young white man who doesn't care about the girl he tried to hook up with dying. But I do think in context he didn't know her.
Okay.
He met her at the party. She was that free spirit, very 70s.
But to your point, like, where's her family?
She went away for the weekend and never came back. Excellent point. I guess I always just took what was given to me, which was, I really thought it was more because the boy was murdered in front of everybody. Nobody saw her die. They just saw the remains. And when everybody looks up and sees, the squirting blood and the raft get torn to pieces.
And all their children were out there, and it could have been their kid.
Correct. That, to me, was always the storyline I just went with, was like, you couldn't deny it.
Yeah.
Whether you wanted to call it a great white shark or the smaller shark, you may not have to be a marine biologist to know that part, but what you know is something came out of the water and destroyed and mauled and ate this little boy in front of all of you.
But didn't they still want to keep the beaches open after that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's when they went after the smaller shark, though.
That's right.
And so it was like within a day they caught the small shark.
Okay.
And it was done. And we were going to move on with our lives.
Yeah, so then you have like, again, what was the scientist guy's name?
Hooper with an H. Yeah.
Hooper.
Matt, but Hooper.
People not like listening to science and listening to logic and listening to reason.
Yes.
Sort of going back to your question about like what are the things that we see today.
Yeah.
Right? And people just like making up their own science, or
absolutely.
Like, oh, just use some bleach, or a little sunshine will kill it.
Cure you, right?
Yeah.
Or science is made up, so we don't even really need to worry about these things.
There is no virus, whatever.
Yeah.
I think we see that all the time, but again, I think it goes back to what they did in the movie, which was prioritizing profit over people's lives, unless like the people's lives actually impact the profit.
Correct.
Right? Like, then they care.
Yes. And that always stood out to me even when I was really young. Like, as much as the mayor is this, like, insane, kind of egomaniac, needs to keep the beaches open, needs to keep his numbers high, of course, because he's a mayor, so he's elected. The fact that it takes his son almost being killed the second time, not the first time,
right?
The second time, when the shark eats that nice man who's trying to help the kids in the boat. And his answer is, my kids are out there too. It's like, now you're willing to sign the paperwork for Brody. Now you're willing to hire the shark hunter. Now and that to me is the most heartbreaking thing that I don't think has changed at all.
Well, and like, why does it always take the extreme to listen to reason?
Correct.
Right? Like, I could even think of like a personal story where, I don't know if I've told you, like, I have a 95, almost 96-year-old grandma.
Yeah.
Right? She lives by herself, and like, she needs more help.
Right.
And I keep telling my mom, like, she needs more help, she needs more help, she needs more help. And, like, my mom wasn't doing anything.
Right.
Right? And it took, you know, again, me, like, sending her, like, a video and, like, her going to the hospital, like, all of these extreme things when it was very clear.
Before that.
Way before that.
Yep.
And I had been saying it over and over and over and over again, but because she wasn't here to
Right.
see it,
There you
kind
go.
of like the girl,
Right.
right?
Nobody
Nobody
her
saw
being
it,
murdered, yeah.
even though they knew it happened or they knew it was going on or they knew whatever. They had
Yep.
the knowledge. They didn't do anything for whatever reason.
Yep.
So
I do think that's like this part of at least Western humanity. I can't speak for like other cultures, but there is this weird blind spot of like, until it's in my face,
yeah,
or affecting me directly, or
Mhm.
threatening my family, my people that I care about directly, or even maybe my body,
Yeah.
not even my family, it doesn't matter, or maybe that's not the right way to phrase it. I can ignore it.
yeah.
I can't argue that it doesn't matter to somebody. I don't know how they feel.
It's
And
easy to ignore.
There you go. It's like avoidance to the max of like my
Mhm.
comfort of
Mm.
not having to face it is what I would prioritize
Yeah.
over the discomfort of having to even explore what's actually happening.
Even when you think about like people trying to organize boycotts and
Sure.
you know, don't go to Target or don't go to wherever. Like even personally, like I'm like, I don't actually shop at Target anyway, so me boycotting Target, not a big deal.
It's not discomfort.
No, not really. But like, what happens when I need that like one thing?
Sure.
Right? Does this $12 really matter?
Right.
Right? Or is it just, you know, should I just like give them the $12 because it's my convenience? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's
like,
easier.
Or should I stand on principle? And yeah, it's easier to just go to Target
Yeah.
and not, you know, try to be part of the change because you don't want to have to drive around and find another store to find this thing.
100%.
Yeah, until everyone can sort of get out of that mindset and realize that no, it actually, like every little bit matters,
Absolutely.
then we're not going to see change.
I agree. And I think that that's so interesting that like a book written in 1974 that became a movie in 1975
So relevant today.
still hits on those exact points of like, we literally had to see a little boy be eaten in front of all of us before we would listen to the fact that something was up
Or
and something
even-
needed attention.
Yeah, even now when we see the people being shot in the streets in
Right.
front of our faces, right? Because it's on a screen and it's not at your feet,
Correct.
right? Like some people are rightfully outraged and some others are just like, you know, not my circus.
Not my city, not happening
Yeah.
right here. I can again turn my eyes away and not have to deal with the truth. I'll just stay in my little comfort
Exactly.
bubble. Yeah, which I just think is so fascinating. Again, like those are the emotions I think really get evoked by using the shark as kind of the big bad thing,
Yeah.
as opposed to like the deeper capitalism, or white supremacy, or colonialism. And again, and I
Yeah.
don't know that that's what Peter eventually was going for in the 70s. I do think he was definitely speaking to the point of, you know, the comfort over the truth and like keeping the status quo. I do believe that that was his point in the movie. Now all the other stuff, I don't know. I actually don't even know if he's still alive, but I just think it's fascinating that a lot of that feels very relevant.
Yeah.
And I'm not even so sure in 2026 if we lived in a beach town and a shark killed a person, would we shut down the beach? We'd probably just say swim at your own risk.
Probably.
But that's your problem, not our problem. And I'm not advocating to go out and try to kill every shark in the ocean. That's what happened when the movie came out. But even the idea of
Is that what happened?
yeah, that was one of the really unintended consequences
Oh,
is that
wow.
people became very phobic of sharks.
Wow.
And started hunting sharks almost to extinction in certain parts of the
I
country.
did not know that. That's crazy.
And so it led to a lot of people trying to educate about how really in reality the risk of getting, you know, attacked by a shark is so low compared to just like driving in your car and getting hit by another driver and that being fatal. Sharks don't really want to eat us, you know, it's an accident kind of thing. But then you wouldn't have the big scary movie that changed everything. But yeah,
And all the subsequent shark movies to follow.
I know, which is a whole other thing I could talk about forever. But Yeah, so let's switch gears a little bit. What questions did you have, or what maybe was something you wanted to chat about as something that you took away?
Let me think. I did take a couple of notes. Okay, so we already sort of talked about like that my expectation of things being realistic.
Sure.
In something that's completely fictional.
Sure.
Right, and so like the thing that brought that up was like the opening scene of like the girl getting dragged around like the surface when she was being, attacked by the shark. And I'm like, a shark's not going to drag her around the surface like that. Like, not that I'm like a marine biologist or anything, but I still believe, in my expert opinion, that would never happen in this completely fictional movie.
I have no idea actually if sharks play with their food like that or not.
That's true. But like, so that was sort of like the first thing that I guess annoyed me.
That's
because
totally
I
fair,
felt like that was not realistic in this completely unrealistic movie.
Okay.
We already talked about the mayor and his goons.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about Quint and his BDE showing up and having zero fucks to give.
Saying this is just how it's going to be. Yes.
One of the things that I wrote down are, why are people so dumb?
Yeah, let's unpack that one.
And this had to do with like the scene where all the people are like getting into the boats and they're like trying to go out there and catch the shark. And if this shark is as big as people are saying, why are 5 or 6 of you getting in a little dinghy with fishing rods to catch a shark?
Correct.
I just
Great point.
don't understand. Like, people are so, but yet people are so dumb in real life.
Yeah, I don't know that part has changed. So my giving it a little bit of grace answer is a couple parts. I try to think of like the suspension of disbelief. And again, when the book was written and when the movie is playing out, if it's the first time you've ever seen it, it's also hard too because Jaws has influenced so many movies since then. So to watch it now with everything that's come out since, you're already tainted, right?
Yeah, exactly.
From the first time something like this was made. And I don't know well enough in my own cinematic history, was there really any movie where an animal attacks people in this way prior to Jaws?
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you had like the creature from the Black Lagoon and stuff like that, but even that was more of like an exploration of like a person-like figure, and this sort of like longing to be with people than a creature that just like mindlessly kills. So I think of it from the perspective of, by the time that scene happens, nobody knows how big the shark is.
That's
because Hooper hasn't arrived yet.
Okay.
And Hooper's the smart person who looks at the bite marks and tells us like the radius of this mouth is humongous. Not this little shark that these guys captured. It's impossible. Right. So I think about it just in like the context of, we have information that the characters in the film don't have.
Fair enough.
We haven't seen the shark. We don't know how big it is yet. And again, I think we're supposed to look at it from this perspective of, nothing like this has ever happened in this town.
Yeah.
So they are dumb. Don't get me wrong.
It's like a frenzy.
Yes.
Mindless frenzy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they have much context to look at it from any other way.
Fair.
I also think there's a part, and this is me totally speculating, that in order to also make Hooper look so smart, you have to give something to contrast. So you got these kind of like townspeople that, I mean, even the way they like talk to him and the way he talks to them, and even Brody says, like, again, to his deputy, like, these are your people. They listen to you. Go out and talk to them. Like, I do think there's a little classism there that they're highlighting of like, we're supposed to see Hooper as, you know, he is a PhD, and like, I don't think we're supposed to think any of them have education like that.
Well, it's interesting because I remember one scene where I think they had caught the shark, and Hooper is there, and there's like a couple of guys, and they're talking to him, but they're talking really loudly.
Yes.
Unnecessarily.
Yes.
Right? And I'm like, why are they shouting at him? Right? But then going back to the whole class thing about, like, it almost makes them look like maybe a little low, just because they're not good communicators.
Correct.
Right? And then you have Cooper, who's relatively calm and like, you know, has a normal tone of voice and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I kind of see that, you know, that contrast, right, between the townies and
correct and those smart scientists from the Oceanographic Institute that Brody brings in. because I think we're also supposed to give Brody that credit of like he's recognizing what he doesn't know.
Yes.
Where the townspeople are kind of going to double down of like you're not going to tell us.
Right.
Again,
you're not from here. Yeah.
Right. How to fish and how to manage these waters and like we grew up here, and kind of even that divide being relatable today is like when we're trying to work toward a common goal, we're still coming at it from a very divisive perspective.
Yeah.
Of like you're not going to bring your smart, educated, holier than thou attitude in here and tell us how to keep our people safe. And it's like we're all in this together. Like all of us are food.
Yeah.
So why are we arguing about the smart person versus like the fisherman?
We all want the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so
and
funny.
we don't have to jump into that yet because I want to know what else you have. But I think that really plays out when they're on the boat, and Hooper and Quint just cannot get it together. And you've got like Quint representing the ultimate. Don't tell me with your smart, educated self.
Yeah.
And then you have Hooper just being like, why are you being so freaking dumb when we're all trying to do the same thing? And it, of course, comes to a head, literally.
Yeah. No, so I even remember the part where Hooper was like, it's not the shark, right? When he had, and then it breaks the line, and, now they're having this like, like who knows more?
It's like a dick swinging contest.
It is.
Literally.
It is. It absolutely is. There was
Back
a lot
and
of that throughout the whole movie.
Yes. Yes. Which I think, again, they did a good job of showing that as like a con and not glorifying the like machismo between these three men. They actually show it as a shortcoming.
Right.
It's like the more that they turn inward and fight, the less they're accomplishing. And it isn't really like the strongest, most macho guy that wins.
Right.
It's the timid, trying to do the right thing, way in over his head guy who saves the day.
Although when they were getting into their like scar pissing contests, right, that almost like brought them together.
That is true.
Versus
lots of alcohol.
Yeah.
I always think about like how they seem like three guys who got really drunk and shot that scene together. Like that feels very real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like that's how they could stop fighting for 5 minutes. Was to all just be and I guess you could kind of say like Hooper has to come down to that, not come down, but like has to come to that level or like shift to that part of himself to finally have some relatable conversation with Quint where they're not at each other's throats.
Yeah.
But I do love that scene though, because again I think that's the first time we feel any empathy for Quint when you learn about the Indianapolis and even that reference, having seen that movie so long ago, like that real story of the Indianapolis has come up so many times in my life since then.
Oh, really?
And that's the first time I ever heard of it as a child was in Jaws.
So
and learning later that that's true.
So the story he told is actually true? Like
Yes.
the people got eaten by sharks?
Correct.
Wow.
That they were such a secret mission delivering the bomb that when they were in the ocean, no one knew to come and save them.
Wow.
And obviously the fiction part of like him being one of them, but taking that real story in American history and making that his backstory
that's genius.
was pretty brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
To again humanize him when we've been saying that what you were saying this whole time is like, why is he acting like this? Why is he putting their lives in danger?
Yeah.
And then I think that was kind of like a very early exploration of like, wow, this guy is pretty messed up. And this is him trying to make sense of that by, again, me versus one shark at a time.
Yeah, because when you go to the scene where they're in his like holdout or wherever, you have all the shark jaws in there. Like clearly he's been like him and Hooper have both been having this relationship with sharks.
Yes, in a very
for
different way.
For a very long time and in a very different way.
That's such a good point because I always, until you said that, I forgot about how Hooper tells his story to Ellen Brody at the dinner table, like, how did you get into sharks?
Right.
And he talks about, I mean, clearly he comes from money, he comes from a very different background about how he got this boat as a gift. And he's out there and he gets attacked by a shark and he swims to shore and then looks back and watches the shark take apart his boat piece by piece, and that's his love and fascination of the animal, where you have Quint, who watched his friends be eaten alive and made it out by whatever you want to call it, divine intervention, pure luck, whatever, and has had to live with that forever. You have one person seeking sharks, again, as like, I'm curious, I'm interested, from the privilege of like, I study them. And then this other man who's like devoted his life to it's the sharks versus
vendetta.
me. 100%. what shark is going to pay for.
Yeah, all of them must pay.
Yes. So true. All right, anything else that you'd written down?
What else did I have here? And some of the stuff is just like stupid. Oh, okay. So we talked about the dumb people. I think the mayor is a snake.
Fair.
And the reason that I think that is the scene where the mom whose boy died, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's got like on her all black in mourning, and she comes up and she slaps Brody in the face.
Yep.
And the mayor is standing right next to him.
Yeah.
And she's like, you knew 2 weeks ago that the girl died.
Yep.
My question is, ma'am, how did you know he knew? Who told you
It's a good point.
that he knew? Because the mayor and all his goons also knew.
You're right.
So somebody had to tell her it was Brody, or they were like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like deflecting from there were so many people that knew.
You're right.
But she blames him.
That's true.
Right? Which means that someone must have also, you know what I mean? Someone else must have also blamed him.
Well, and I was wondering too if like, because he's like the quieter, timid person, and they're kind of both, I guess, law enforcement, that might not be the correct terminology, but they're both government officials.
Right.
Would she have ever slapped the mayor?
Absolutely not.
Right. So Brody's
She
also
needed someone
the
to
patsy.
blame.
Correct.
But I still think somebody probably pointed her to Brody. And I think it was probably the mayor or the mayor adjacent.
Totally
you know?
fair. Well, because again, they're not taking any responsibility.
None.
They're
Absolutely
skating back.
none.
And even in that scene,
Brody takes responsibility too.
correct. She walks away, and I think the mayor says something like, "She's wrong,"
Exactly.
and he says, "No, she's not."
Yeah.
And so it's like, even in that scene, the mayor is still 10 toes down that what we did or didn't do was fine, and she's overreacting.
Mm-hmm.
And Brody has enough of a head on his shoulders to say, like, no, she's right. Like, we fucked up. We dropped the ball.
Well, and I think he said he took responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? He's not even doing the we thing.
You're right.
You know?
Which I think, again, speaks to his role not his role, but like his character's identity of like, he seems to take his position really seriously, and he seems to care, and if anything, he probably could have been more critical of the larger group and less self-critical.
Yeah.
Because he does seem to take a lot of the blame, which again is his to take. It's just not only his to take.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great point.
I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, the last thing. So we talked about why Quint smashed the radio. We talked about me wishing that there were scenes after the shark was killed. The only other weird thing that I noticed is that the mayor has this stupid gray jacket with anchors on it.
Yes.
And it shows up in 2 separate scenes
Yes.
that are like days apart.
Right. It's like his uniform.
But like in between, he's wearing different jackets, and I'm like, this jacket is not cute. Like, and yet you saw fit to wear it multiple times.
I wonder if there's like
that's like a continuity, like
that's a
in
good
shooting.
question.
You know
Was
what I
it an
mean?
error,
Like,
or was it
maybe
intentional?
They shot both of those scenes with him in the same.
That's a good question.
And then when they edited it, it just so happened that.
So what's funny is, I think I always just assumed that was considered a cool look because it's the 70s and it's that beachy, waspy, northeast look. For the time, I never even thought about it being a continuity error. I always kind of looked at all their clothes, like even Ellen Brody's hair, like all that stuff is just like, this is what they thought was it back in the day. And maybe he or the costume department or both just really like that jacket.
Now the only other thing that I will say, and I don't know if this was like intentional, but it has anchors on it. Right? And I'm like, he kind of is the character that is holding Brody back. Right?
Actually, maybe it is.
And in both of those scenes, I believe they're talking about like, we're not going to close the beaches or something like that, right? And so he's like he's being the anchor that's holding Brody back from like making people safe.
I like that answer. I'd like to think it's intentional, because a lot of times we think of the anchor as a positive thing, right? Like it grounds us or it keeps us steady. And in this example, it's like drowning them.
Yeah. Like
it's pulling them down from actually making any decisions, making any progress. That's fascinating.
See, I did my homework.
I love it. I'm actually gonna, I want to do some research now of like, was it intentional that the mayor wore that jacket twice in the original movie Jaws, and see if, I mean, so much has been written now. I wonder.
I'm sure somebody else has caught it, not just me.
I love that. I love that.
Those are all the notes that I had.
Those are great. I think I only had just a couple more, just kind of going back to even the depiction of masculinity and the fact that, like, Brody defeats the shark despite having really no experience with this. He's the only person out of the three of them who's afraid of water.
Yeah.
He has no prior experience of boating, and yet he's the one that overcomes. And so I'm just kind of wondering what you think about that choice being made and him having to go outside of his comfort zone to succeed.
So I think that sometimes people look at, like, I think he was brave, right, from the perspective of you continue to push forward despite the fact, right, or in spite of your fear, in spite of you aren't the most qualified, you aren't the most experienced, versus someone like Quint. Like, I don't think he was brave.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I don't think he was scared, so there was
exactly
no
there was no bravery.
Yeah.
And so, whereas someone might look at Quint and think of him as being more masculine, and usually you associate bravery maybe with like masculinity, and those two things would align. And you might think Brody is less masculine, but he's actually more brave.
I agree.
Right? And so, you know, he's also like the family man, and it's so interesting that he's almost like the depiction of the nice guy.
Oh, for sure.
Or the good guy.
Yes.
Right? And when I think about like the type of guys that either like even myself or like other people will go for, a lot of times, like, it's not that guy. Right? But he's the one who ended up pulling through and saving the day. And so I think we have a very like narrow sense of what masculinity is.
Oh, for sure. Especially back then.
Oh, yeah. Definitely back then. And I would say even still now.
Yes.
Absolutely. Because it can come in so many different forms. But it's like ultimately he was trying to be the protector.
That's right. Yes.
Which we tend to associate with masculinity. Whereas, again, Quint was just trying to, like, feed his own ego.
Work through some of his demons or something.
And make some money on the side.
For sure. He found a way to capitalize on his sort of reckless abandonment with his own life.
Exactly.
Yeah. So interesting. And I think back to, again, like, I know Roy Scheider, that's who plays Brody, had been in movies before Jaws. So again, before our times. But I think there's something very important about casting him. Because even though he was a recognizable actor, you're right, he doesn't bring that same sort of traditional stereotypical gravitas.
Right.
And I remember thinking when I was young and not knowing who he was, like, I thought for sure he was going to die. Like, I just didn't know that he was going to end up being our hero. I figured he would move the plot line along. But for probably my own biases or whatever, I thought it would be, the weathered fisherman guy, Quint, or the scientist.
Okay, yeah, fair.
I just don't think I thought that, like, the timid, nice, really even just, like, not even physically intimidating.
No, not at all.
Man would be the one to come out alive against this, you know, never before seen massive man-eating machine. And thinking that that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And
also, I will never forget the first time I saw Quint get eaten on that boat. Like, that changed me as a human being. I'm just like, this feels so viscerally real. And having to wait so long to see the shark, I thought built up that psychological distress of just like, what are we really up against?
I did not expect Quint to be eaten by the shark.
Really?
I didn't.
Okay.
And when it happened, I was like, considering his backstory, it was kind of like serendipitous, like, okay, this is like your ultimate nemesis or foe or exactly. And the fact that like that's how he went out, but it took the ultimate predator to take him out too. So it was like a worthy opponent, which goes back to like maybe that's why he smashed the radio, because you know you have like Superman and Lex Luthor are like worthy opponents, right?
Otherwise
trying to take each other. Yeah, exactly.
100%. Yeah, I think that is also kind of a profound part of the story of like he dies doing kind of the only thing
Mm-hmm.
he could do with his life, which was like, it was gonna be some shark probably eventually.
Yeah.
So why not be the shark that, again, no one had ever expected to encounter or have to interact with? And I just thought that scene was so emotionally distressing. Of
Yeah.
like, and even just like all the blood in the water that like flows
It was
back
very
into the
well
boat.
done.
Yes.
It was very well done,
Yes.
especially considering when,
Yes.
you know, back in the 70s. Like, I thought that was very, like, yeah.
So visceral.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
you could feel it after all
yeah,
these
yeah,
decades.
yeah. It was well done.
And I will say, I mean, I think even though that was probably too gory for me at that age, that's what made me love this movie, and really movies in general so much, was just like trying to figure out how they did it. Like I always tell people, I was young enough to understand, I was old enough to understand it wasn't real.
Right.
But I was young enough that I was totally sucked in and like literally terrified.
Yeah.
And to this day, even though like you didn't put those dots together, I still hear the Jaws music in my head in the swimming pool. I still think there's some chance that a shark's gonna come up from the bottom if I go like night swimming and kill me.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those movies that fundamentally altered how I felt about certain places in the world. And like I'll go to a beach and only get in the water up to my knees because it's just like I know in my brain if I go out and it's dark water and I'm not able to hit the bottom, I'm going to get eaten by a shark.
So it's funny. I remember a few years ago I went snorkeling, and so like you take you on a boat and you go out, whatever. There was like a little coral reef, and so where we went snorkeling, there was like where you could see the bottom. It was still, you know, like 20 feet down, however far down it was. But then there was like this cliff. It was almost like in Finding Nemo.
Yes,
right?
a shelf.
And then it was just like deep, dark blue.
Yes, changes.
And it was so, like, just looking over there, like, I think I accidentally sort of swam towards it one time. It was terrified.
Yes.
Right? And I don't know if it's necessarily, like, I think it's more the unknown.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't know what's out there. I can see what's below me. Right? Where it's shallow. And even some of that stuff was terrifying.
For sure.
To be honest.
It probably could still hurt me.
Oh, absolutely. And so, yeah, I totally relate to, like, the deep blue. Like, I have no desire to jump off of a boat in the middle of the ocean.
No.
None whatsoever.
No, I took this movie as almost like a cautionary tale for literally the rest of my life. Of just like, I'm not swimming in the ocean in the nighttime. I'm really not swimming in the ocean in the daytime. And I'm definitely not going out further than I can see the bottom.
Yeah.
And even though, again, I know statistically the odds of getting attacked are so low, it just had such a fundamental impact on how I saw the terrors of what you can't see.
Yeah.
And again, like kind of coming full circle, even though, I mean, there's again documentaries about this, tons has been written about the challenges of the mechanical shark. The fact that we don't see it for so long, I think actually intensified that fear.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even though I know you're talking about like Chrissy being pulled all around in that opening scene, maybe not accurate, but I do think it was effective.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can't see what's killing her, but clearly it's not good. And it's so dark and it's so violent, and there's no blood or anything, obviously, because it's nighttime. But just to imagine,
the kid too.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But just to imagine something coming up from below,
that like out of nowhere.
Correct.
Yes.
Like she's having this grand old time, and the sun's setting, and it's beautiful, and she's met this cute guy, and then it was just like, could that happen? Like that thought, stays with me till this day.
Yeah.
And I just love how effective this movie was and is in that way of just like, to me that's what movies are. To get me out of whatever's going on and make me think about these things and affect me on such an emotional, psychological level makes it kind of fun.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, like that relief that I feel when they kill the shark every time. I'm like, okay, you can be in the water now and you're not in peril. I just think that this movie does it so well. And then everything else copied it.
Well, and I think that's why people are afraid of sharks even to this day.
Sure.
Right? Even though I like to say sharks don't like dark beef.
Well, Well, I mean, I know this movie was made in the 70s, but I do wonder what it would be like with a black cast.
I had that same
Because we ain't
thought.
going in the ocean like that.
It would
in
be
the
a short
first place.
movie.
Yeah. I heard so-and-so got killed. I wasn't planning on getting in anyway.
Yeah.
We're good. Movie's over. We moved away. Or we just don't go in the water.
I don't recall seeing any black people in the movie whatsoever, which would make sense given it's supposed to be almost like a Martha's Vineyard-y kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I've like actively looked over the years, and when the boat, I don't know what you would call it, the ferry arrives and brings the large groups of people before the little boy gets killed, there's like 2.
Okay.
Because I have like rewatched it. Like, there's really not one black actor or actress in this entire movie.
Nothing.
So there's like maybe 2 that I've seen that are coming off that boat, and they might be like a family. But yeah, other than that, it's a very monolithic white cast, just period. Which again, time and place, I think that kind of makes sense. Absolutely. But I do think on a deeper level, talk about being unrealistic. It's just that's not really our culture, especially back then. Like, what black family would be living in that area, taking their kids to the beach? Like, if you remade it now, it'd probably have to be a different part of the country to make that even still realistic, and it would be probably like the Brody character who like moved there for the job. Because he's a black sheriff. He doesn't necessarily
an outsider.
Correct. I feel like that would be like the way that it would be rewritten. But awesome. All right. So as we're wrapping up, I'm curious, kind of a week from now, or maybe just in the future, what image, if any, might live rent free in your brain from this movie?
Definitely the image of Quint being eaten by the shark. Like, that one definitely stands out to me. Or even there was one where I think where Brody was on the boat and he like sees the shark and it like pops its head up out of the water. And he kind of like, oh, the shark is, he
scrambles.
He starts scrambling. Like, that one I thought was really, really profound. Like, that one resonates with me too. Because, like you said, you don't really see the shark.
Correct.
For a good portion of it, and then when you do, it's like massive.
As big or bigger than the entire boat that they're on. The orca.
Exactly.
I mean, I think just remembering again, like seeing it when I was really young and it was new. I think one of the scenes that actually really got me, which we didn't talk about, was when Hooper takes the boat at night with Brody to go explore the feeding area, and they find that one boat that's already been attacked, and he goes underwater and the head comes out.
That was a jump scare for me.
That's still effective. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen the movie. I know it's coming and I like tense up and I'm like waiting for the head to pop
Even
out.
Yesterday when I watched it again, I'm like, oh, there's a body in there, isn't there? And I'm like,
that still gets me.
Still got me.
But then for sure, the chumming the water and the shark coming up, and that's the famous line, you're going to need a bigger boat. Because he just backs up into the boat to tell Quint. And then absolutely Quint getting eaten. Like, I would honestly still hold that up in practical effects to some of the stuff we do today.
It
really blows my mind every time I see it, and it's so long and dragged out, and the scream that Quint gives. And, it's perfect in terms of effectiveness.
Absolutely.
But all right, awesome. Any final thoughts on our first episode and talking about my favorite movie of all time? And
no, this was fun. I didn't
introduced to it.
I didn't really know what it would be, but it was a good time, and I'm glad I got to not only watch the movie but talk about it and even give you a couple of different thoughts about a movie you've seen 100 times.
Literally, I was deep diving. Where was Chrissy's family and how come no one came looking for her? And I am literally sitting here thinking, how have I never had this thought before? Like, that was brilliant.
Awesome.
And I don't think I gave that specific piece that much thought before, so I love that you did. That was great. Well, thank you for watching a movie that is so near and dear to my heart and taking the assignment and spending time with me, and we'll definitely love to have you back. I think I'm going to end every episode, we'll see how this lands, with this question. What's a movie that you love that you are shocked when other people haven't seen?
Oh, interesting. I can think of a movie that I love. I don't know that anyone has never seen it though. Like one of my favorite movies, I think we talked about this, is Fight Club.
Yes.
But I feel like everybody's,
That's
everyone's
true.
seen that one.
Okay.
And then another one of my favorite movies is Finding Nemo, which again, everyone has seen. Those are the two that usually come to mind first.
Okay. So I think I'm going to start incorporating that and see if someone can bring one to the table that I haven't seen.
Oh, okay.
I kind of flip the script, and then I'll take that on as some homework.
Okay.
I love both those movies and have seen them many,
now I'm
many
trying
times.
to think, like, what's a movie that I've seen that maybe you haven't seen? I'm going to have to think about that one. I'm going to think about that.
It could be a to be continued.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm thinking it would be neat for me to have to take my own advice.
Yeah.
And dive into something that a friend of mine really loves that has somehow missed my viewing.
I'm going to think about that one.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully this was a fun experience for you. I will be interviewing friends and colleagues and maybe even other cinephiles and see if we can stump each other. So thanks for listening to episode 1, and stay tuned because I have some great other movies on the horizon already. All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you.